अस्सलामुअलैकुम नाज़रीन, आज हम आपको
精兵不分
बड़ा
男
दिन
女，
है।
战
आज
场
हम
不分
आपको
先后。
लेके जाएंगे
我们全体队员
लाइव
既有打仗的职能，
जहां
又有
चाइना
保障
की
的使命。
80th
他们标准
anniversary
一致，
of end of
步调
World
一
War
致，
II
从
जब उन्होंने
简
जापान
单
को
重复
शिकस्त
中
दी
锻造卓越，
और उसके
从精
बाद
雕细刻之中
वो
打造
कांग्रेस
精品。
गवर्नमेंट पावर में आई by 1948. So I will take you live to that portion right now. ये आप देख रहे हैं इस वक्त लाइव परेड चल रही है चाइनीज की और ये 6 घंटे चलेगी। 2-3 घंटे हो गए हैं और उसके बाद ये 3-4 घंटे और चलेगी। इस पे जो भी SCO पे आए हुए थे कई लोग हेड्स ऑफ स्टेट, उनको फिर इनवाइट किया गया और टिएनमेन जगह से वो आए हैं बेइजिंग और वो उनको हाई स्पीड रेल में लेके आए हैं। सारे हेड ऑफ स्टेट्स 25 के करीब थे और ये टाइम उन्होंने कोई 300 मील दूर आधे घंटे में उन्होंने सफर तय किया और उनको VIP ट्रीटमेंट दे के इस पेविलियन में लेके आ रहे हैं। उसमें हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी हैं, आपको नजर नहीं आएंगे मगर हमारे आर्मी चीफ भी वहाँ पहुंचे हुए हैं और वहाँ प्यूटन है, किम जोंग उन है, उधर पूरे सेंट्रल एशियन स्टेट्स हैं, उसमें अर्दोगान साहब भी हैं टर्की के, उसमें परिश्कियान भी है जो पर्शिया से है, उसमें कंबोडिया का हेड भी है, उसमें वियतनाम के लोग भी हैं, सब हैं। कुछ लोग मिसिंग हैं लाइक इंडिया, दे डिडंट वांट टू गिव रॉन्ग इंप्रेशन टू द जापानीज कि हम आपके खिलाफ हैं। तो वो ये चीज़ है, मगर ये चाइना के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी मौका है। इस पे वो 2-3 चीज़ें करने जा रहे हैं। एक वो दिखाने जा रहे हैं द मिलिट्री माइट, कहते हैं कि इसमें चाइनीज ऐसे वेपन्स दिखाएंगे जो पहले उन्होंने नहीं दिखाए। इसमें वो हाइपरसोनिक मिसाइल दिखाएंगे जो एंटी शिप होंगे और बेसिकली emergence of a China as a confident superpower after the SCO summit, basically ये चीज है और इसके असरात अब आपको आगे नजर आने शुरू होंगे और ये इतनी बड़ी परेड है। I will encourage you guys to watch it live also after this podcast, not before. अच्छा, Based upon that, मैं इसको बंद करता हूँ और आपको ट्रेडिशनली एज गूगल अर्थ पे जाएंगे। आज हमारा फोकस मेन होगा यूक्रेन पे और क्या होने वाला है और उसके जो असरात आ रहे हैं हमारे खत्ते पे और ख़ास तौर पे हमारे नेबर इंडिया पे जो आ रहे हैं वो हम डील करेंगे उनके साथ। ठीक है, अब मैं स्विच ओवर करने लगा हूँ टू शेयर स्क्रीन। आपको गूगल अर्थ जो लोगों को बहुत पसंद आया है उस पर जा रहा हूँ। As usual, I'll come to Ukraine और आपको इस पे ये यूक्रेन की बाउंड्री है। ठीक है, अब यूक्रेन का जो बेसिक मामला चल रहा है उसमें जो मेन एक्टिविटी हो रही है वो हो रही है good old at stage। इसमें जो हमारी एक्टिविटी हो रही है वो हो रही है यूक्रेन के लिए। ठीक है, इसमें जो एक्टिविटी हो रही है वो जर्मनी की तरफ से हो रही है, यूके की तरफ से हो रही है और कुछ रशिया की बहुत नाराजगी हैं। ओके, क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर में चलता हूँ। सबसे पहले है कि ट्रंप ने जो उन्होंने वो किया था, क्या कहते हैं, अटेंड कर रहे थे क्वाड की समिट। अच्छा, क्वाड जो सा है वो एक इंडो पैसिफिक का एक अलायंस है बिटवीन इंडिया, USA ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ये आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया दिखा रहे हैं नीचे करके, एंड जापान। जापान है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया है जिसका कैपिटल सिडनी है, और इंडिया इसमें है, और यूएसए है। अच्छा, द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स has scrapped plans to attend the upcoming summit of the Quad grouping amid the deteriorating relationships and ties between Washington and New Delhi. ये न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स ने रिपोर्ट किया है, और इसको सेकेंडली पिकअप किया है हमारे डॉन न्यूज ने। यहाँ ये बहुत खराब हो रहे हैं इनके रिलेशंस। अभी इंडिया पे ट्रंप ने लगाया 50% टैरिफ, इससे ज्यादा और इसके इक्वल सिर्फ ब्राजील पे लगा हुआ है। और ये बेसिकली ट्रंप प्रेसिडेंट यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स की पनिशमेंट है फॉर परचेजिंग ऑफ रशियन ऑयल। उससे दे से दैट purchase of that oil is funding the war in Ukraine. अच्छा, शुरू में इनके प्लान्स से ट्रंप के आने के, अब उन्होंने बिल्कुल खत्म कर दिया, मामला फिनिश कर दिया। इस पे और भी मामला खराब हुआ जब पहलगाम का अटैक हुआ और इंडिया ने एस्केलेट किया, और उस एस्केलेशन का जवाब मिला, और उस पर बेसिकली इंडियन एयरफोर्स was grounded for 2 days. Based upon that, looks like India was no longer being viewed in the same light as before. और उस पर ट्रंप ने फिर चेंज किया, एंड एक मीटिंग हुई यहाँ पाकिस्तान में with the Central Asian states, CENTCOM, as well as हमारा army chief. They had a meeting in Islamabad, basically kicked off the local grouping. Acha, India, to counter that, they've gone and said we're going to go be with SCO summit, वो जाके जी से मिले, मोदी से मिले हैं। वहाँ भी इनके डिफरेंसेस नजर आए हैं। डिफरेंसेस इस तरह हैं कि उनके फॉरेन मिनिस्टर कहता है एशिया में मल्टीपोलर है, चाइना कहता है दुनिया में मल्टीपोलर है, हमें अमेरिका है, शायद रशिया है। एशिया में कोई मल्टीपोलर नहीं है, सिर्फ चीन है। सो देयर इज ए view from China which does not recognize the Indian tenant कि जी हम क्या चीज़ है, that they are also superpower. So ये एक प्रॉब्लम चलेगा between India and China. ठीक है, चाइना नहीं मान रहा उनको कि वो कोई बहुत बड़ी सुपर पावर है। रूस उनको काफी दे रहा तकबीयत, मगर वो दाल गल नहीं रही। That is not getting there. अच्छा, मोदी की जब विजिट हुई है, Z said something very interesting, as the two sides should not let border issue define the overall India-China relationship, adding that economic development both sides should be focused. मतलब Belt and Road Initiative. अच्छा, as long as they are partners with China, not rivals, providing development opportunities, not threats, मतलब BRI के साथ चल रहे हैं, then Indian-Chinese relationship will flourish. अब लगता है कि इंडिया उस साइड पे तो नहीं आ रहा। So जो भी उनका वहाँ था, they expected to obtain, looks like they did not obtain. They did not get recognized as another superpower in Asia. And I think even other countries will have a hard problem recognizing that. Dusra, let's move to Ukraine. That's where the main focus is coming, and we will deal in that a little bit more. Okay. यूक्रेन में जो प्रॉब्लम अभी आ रही है कि वहाँ 3 चीजें चल रही हैं बेसिकली, जिसके बेसिस पे रशिया इनको सीज फायर देगा। पहला ये है कि डोनेट्स को हैंड ओवर करें, एक एरिया यहाँ करके, ये इलाका इधर करके है जहाँ वो कहते हैं कि हमें हैंड ओवर करो। और ये सारी जगह पे रशिया यहाँ से भी अटैक कर रहा है, यहाँ से भी अटैक कर रहा है और यहाँ से भी अटैक कर रहा है। तो रशियन प्रेशर इज इमेंस ऑन यूक्रेन। दूसरी चीज वो कह रहे हैं कि नो नेटो। तीसरी चीज वो कह रहे हैं कि जो भी एनी एग्रीमेंट ऑन फोर्सेस इन यूक्रेन, दे विल हैव a veto on it। और यूरोपियन साइड पे वो जो फौजें लेके जा रहे हैं उनको कह रहे हैं कोalition of the willing। अच्छा, एक दो दिन पहले रूस ने एक बहुत बड़ा हमला किया। दे ब्लू आउट द कॉन्सुलेट्स ऑफ यूरोपियन यूनियन as well as UK। After that, the coalition of the willing, which is the countries which are going to provide forces, they said they're going to scale back this contingent for the peacekeeping in Ukraine। मतलब ये है कि वो वापस आ रहे हैं और कहते हैं उनकी रिसोर्स कंस्ट्रेंट्स हैं। और रिपोर्टिंग फ्रॉम टेलीग्राफ, वो यूके का एक न्यूज़पेपर है, पहले जो बात हो रही थी वो 30,000 यूरोपियन ट्रूप्स की बात हो रही थी और अब कहते हैं नंबर बहुत कम हो गया। और कुछ कह रहे हैं कि इसलिए भी पीछे किया है क्योंकि लुक्स टू मस्कुलर एंड दे वुड बिकम अ सब्जेक्ट ऑफ टारगेट ऑफ रशियन स्ट्राइक्स। अब वो कह रहे हैं कि जी ये हम थोड़े बहुत जो मिलिट्री इंस्ट्रक्टर्स हैं वो हम वेस्टर्न यूक्रेन में ले जाएंगे, मतलब ये इधर करके या हम उनको इंस्ट्रक्शंस देंगे, बट देयर इज नो गारंटी कि रशियन इनको अटैक ना करे। वो कहते हैं कि कोई नेटो ट्रुप्स आए, देयर फेयर गेम। अच्छा, इसके इन द मिडल ऑफ दैट डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प, president of the United States, who kicked off the peace talks with Ukraine, वो ये कह रहे हैं कि we will not bear the cost of this war। और उनका जो मागा मेक अमेरिका ग्रेट अगेन मूवमेंट है वो भी कहते हैं कि हम क्यों दें, ये यूरोपियंस की लड़ाई है, उनको देना चाहिए। वो ये भी कह रहे हैं बीच में अमेरिकन के अगर वो एस्केलेट करना चाहते हैं यूरोपियंस तो देन दे डू इट ऑन देयर ओन एक्सपेंस। और वो उनके पास ना एक्सपेंस है ना मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेसिटी है। जो भी उन्होंने देना पड़ेगा अमेरिका अपनी कैपेसिटी से 16% ऑफ ग्लोबल, वो मिलेगा एट द एक्सपेंस ऑफ इजराइल। So it looks like America is pivoting away from Ukraine and going towards Israel। ट्रम्प ने जो पोजीशन ली है वो ये they're shifting the problem toward the Europeans। What the exact wording उन्होंने ये किया है, if Europe wants to escalate this war, if Europe wants to escalate this war, that will be up to them, but they will be hopelessly snatching defeat from jaws of victory। इसमें ट्रम्प ये कह रहा है कि जो आपको सीजफायर मिल रही वो ले लो, वो काफी है, उस पर विक्ट्री सेलिब्रेट कर लो। अगर आगे गए तो बहुत बुरा होगा आपके साथ। In diplomatic terms, it will be very catastrophic for the Europeans and Ukrainians। Secondly, Trump, as you know, likes a deal। President of the United States likes a deal। Getting to a deal is an art of the possible। वो कहते हैं कि डील होना तो उस पर डील करो जो हो सके। हवाई पुलाव, imagination और alternate reality पे मत जाओ। Again quoting, getting to a deal is art of the possible। जो हो सके उसमें करो। But some Europeans continue to operate in a fairy tale land that ignores the fact it takes two to tango। Unquote from President Donald Trump, USA। अंदर में जो सीनियर व्हाइट हाउस के लोग हैं कहते हैं ये प्रोग्रेस इज सो अनसक्सेसफुल। ये ट्रम्प तो ये सोच रहा है कि बिल्कुल ही पीस टॉक से हाथ धो ले, that he walks away from the peace talks and let till both Putin or Ukraine have opened to major concessions। अब ये एक बहुत बड़ी स्टेटमेंट है। और सीनियर व्हाइट हाउस ये कह रहे हैं कि वी आर गोना सिट बैक एंड वॉच एंड लेट देम फाइट इट आउट फॉर अ व्हाइल एंड सी व्हाट हैपेंस। वो तो यही होना है ना कि यूक्रेन को जो मार पड़ रही है इसकी इंटेंसिटी बढ़ रही है। दिन ब दिन रशियन अटैक्स आर इंटेंसिफाइंग बोथ इन नंबर्स एंड इन इंटेंसिटी एंड द फ्रीक्वेंसी, और उस पर इनकी बहुत ज्यादा कैजुअलिटीज हो रही हैं। उस पर जर्मनी के चांसलर मिस्टर मर्ज ने कहा है, अपनी मेंटल स्टेट की बात कर रहे हैं कि ही इज मेंटली प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर रशियन वॉर ड्रैग ऑन फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम एंड हार्बर्स नो इल्यूजन्स रिगार्डिंग मॉस्को डिजायर टू एंड नाउ। मतलब ये है कि दे आर नॉट एक्सेप्टिंग द रशियन टर्म्स, और अगर वो एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रहे, उस पर ट्रम्प कह रहा है यू स्नैचिंग डिफीट फ्रॉम द जॉज ऑफ विक्ट्री। मतलब जो आपको मिल रहा है ये ले लो, ये अगर नहीं, इफ यू डोंट टेक दैट यू गोना लूज कंप्लीटली। ही वाज गिविंग ए जर्मन पब्लिक ब्रॉडकास्ट जीडीएफ है, उस पर दे रहे थे। वो कहते हैं कि वी हैव नॉट लॉस्ट होप फॉर अ सीज फायर और पीस डील। वो ट्रम्प भी कह रहा है कि नहीं मिलने लगी। Certainly not at the price of Ukraine's capitulation. Well, agreeing to Russian terms is capitulation. Okay, Americans are saying, go for it. We'll just sit back and watch. And you will get what? Defeat from the jaws of victory. जो आपको मिल रही डील, इसमें से आपको बहुत और खराबी होगी। And then he said one thing. He says, nobody's talking about ground troops, peace troops in Ukraine. तो वो पीछे हट गए उससे भी। अच्छा, एक और चीज है, Trump to get Russians to the table, they had asked India to stop buying oil, which they didn't. उस पर tariff लगे। Now Donald Trump, President of the United States, has added pressure on European nations to impose even stricter sanctions on India, especially targeting its oil and gas trade due to India's continued purchasing of Russian crude, which US claims helping fund Russia's war. ये Amazon.com पे ये न्यूज है। वो ये कह रहे हैं कि यूरोपियंस को, आप इतना हमारे ऊपर कर रहे हैं, आप इंडिया पे लगाएं प्रेशर ताकि वो तेल खरीदना बंद करें। They stop buying oil from Russia and then sell it. That is how the Russians are making money to fund the war. Partly, maybe not totally, partly. Because they do this. So the pressure is mounting, is going to mount on India, and looks like Indians are not ready to give Americans what they want, which is also making Trump very angry. And I will share something, what his opinion is on the trade and everything else on India. It is coming to a strict conclusion. Okay. There's another thing which MSN.com reports. Putin says he has reached an understanding with Trump over the end of Ukraine war. उन्होंने कहा, ये हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग होगी, ये लड़ाई किस तरह बंद होगी, how this war will end. और ये बहुत बड़ी चीज है. There is another piece of news which
live streaming on YouTube is one of the best ways to growth hack your YouTube channel, get more views and subscribers, and one of the easiest.
anyway. और जो दूसरी चीजें आई है इसमें ट्रम्प की, he's so mad at India that he's decided not to visit India for the Quad Summit in November. अगर Quad Summit में President of the United States does not go, तो बाकी क्या रह जाता है? Australia or Japan? I would think, since it's all focused against China, and India wanted to get close to China, and they're hosting this thing, anti-China Puri Summit Quad Key in November, it's not a good message in their position. Just for your people who are asking what is Quad, the summit hosted in New Delhi is a strategic platform focusing Indo-Pacific cooperation between the United States, India, Japan, Australia. This makes, and it's an anti-China containment club, and absence of Trump makes it highly significant. On another topic, our neighbor Iran. The group of three, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom, have moved United Nations to trigger the powerful snapback mechanism of UN sanctions over Iran. What is a snapback? Snapback is a diplomatic tool that is part of a faltering August 15, 2015 nuclear deal. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, जिसको JPOA कहते हैं, under which signatories agreed to lift crippling international sanctions related to Iran's nuclear program in exchange for Iran agreeing to curb its nuclear activity. इसमें since invoke Iran and E3, the three European countries we mentioned, UK, France, and Germany, have to reach an agreement within 30 days. If they don't reach an agreement in 30 days, then automatically these sanctions will be reimposed, which will be really bad. Nobody can sell nothing to Iran. No arms, no guns, no bullets. If they do, they're in violation of UN Security Council. However, Iranian Vice President Mohammad Reza Arif told ISNA News, "We are not fans of the sanctions, and this time too, the Iranian people will never back down or bow to pressure." So it looks like this is entering the Band Gully once more. After this, very significant, I would say, Trump. This is basically from, again, MSN.com. India offered in the meantime zero tariffs. And Trump, the President of the United States is claiming that. And he says that after the PM Putin meet in Beijing. Interesting. Tianjin. Following a series of unsubstantiated claims that remarks targeted India by President Donald Trump and his top aide, Republican leader on Monday made another assertion to justify steep tariffs in India, saying New Delhi had offered to reduce tariffs to zero. But it was too late now. The train has left the station. In a social media post, President Modi met with Russian Putin, and Trump claimed the trade between them has been completely one-sided disaster, alleging the U.S. has been unable to sell goods to India because of the high tariffs. What does that mean, high tariffs? What they're saying is that India basically takes advantage of their export to America with almost no tariffs, while when US goods come in, they are subject to a lot of tariffs. So this is going to be a scene being fought on the sidelines from the Ukraine conflict. Anyway, Russia in the meantime has gone on the offensive. वो कहता है कि ना सिर्फ मुझे वो डिनेप्रो चाहिए, अब वो कहता है मुझे ओडेसा भी चाहिए. That means Ukraine will have no seaport. And they also say the Mykolaiv area also in the north. So that means now Russians' demands are escalating. इसमें they are claiming Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson region separated from Ukraine. So that's what Russians militarily are going to be pursuing now. And they're going to take it under Russian control. ये जो लाइन है, this basically occurs अगर यहाँ से वो करते हैं Russians यहाँ से आके यहाँ तक चले जाते हैं, ये जगह ले लेते हैं, so they will be sitting right next to Moldova and Romania. All this area, they will take it away from Ukraine. So Ukraine will only have towards any boundaries they have will be from this side. So it's a major escalation from Russia's perspective. According to a journalist in Moscow, he says this map probably reflects this whole region from here, 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 here. That's what the Russian military objectives are. And looks like they will be moving. On top of that, Russians छोड़ नहीं रहे. हमारे EU की जो head हैं, वो गई हुई थी पोलैंड. She started from Warsaw and she was coming towards Bulgaria. Yeah. When it got close to the Bulgarian airport, the Russians jammed her GPS coordinates. So the pilot had to land in Bucharest safely by using alternate navigational system. They said von der Leyen will continue her planned tour to the European Union Eastern Frontline nations, said the Commission spokesman Ariana Podesta. In the meantime, on the sidelines, India signals no import cut from Russia and eagerly awaits Putin visit. Indian PM expressed strong enthusiasm for welcoming Putin to India in a subtle rebuke, I think not so subtle rebuke, of President USA as they met on the sidelines of Shanghai SCO summit in Tianjin. He said 1.4 billion Indians are eagerly waiting for you. Okay. In the meantime, the precision strikes which are occurring inside Russia, which has had a bad effect on the refining capacity of Russia. Russia's TV propagandist, male nationalist, launched a furious tirade against UK and US, accusing them of masterminding the damaging strikes which have slashed Russian oil production by almost a quarter and hammered Putin's money-making machine. So the focus of West as well as USA is to deny them funds. Trump, again, I think, made his position very clear. And the President of the United States made it very clear. He says what few people understand is that we do very little business with India, but they do a tremendous amount of business with us. That means US. In other words, they sell us a massive amount of goods. Their biggest client, but we sell them very little. And he says until now, a totally one-sided relationship. It has been for many decades. The reason is India charged us until now such high tariffs. Most of any country that our business are unable to sell in India, this has been totally one-sided. So fundamentally, जो चीज इसमें आपको मैं कैप कर दूं, वो ये है कि India and the thing between Donald Trump, I think they've come to a conclusion that their strategic partner in this region is going to be the pivots. And I think they're focusing on Pakistan. And looks like that's going to strengthen. The second thing is China also feels Pakistan is a pivot. And one of the military analysts, Praveen Sani in India, has said so, that China is moving to make Pakistan the leading power in South and West Asia. And I think with the induction of J-35s, HQ-19s, HQ-29, HPM-3000 anti-drone systems, and some of the A2AD anti-access area denial missiles along the Aegean Sea, I think this nation of 220 million, 240 million, backed up by the manufacturing capacity of China, will get to be a big power in the region. And Israel is 9 million with 16% capacity and America technology. वो काफी बलावी भी है. I mean, nobody ever says anything to them. यहाँ China is putting us in that one. And I think their strategy is very simple. And I think sooner or later, other countries will also realize this. On this note, I would like to welcome our gracious host, Shahar Bano, and I hand over
Assalamu
to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that was your thoughts and perspectives are really nice, and thanks for sharing your valuable insights on the current situations. So, sir, you talked about Trump's officials that they are deliberately shifting the blame to Europe. Are they trying to cover the failure of peace talks?
Yes, very much. They know the peace talks are going to fail because Europeans and Ukrainians are living, as they call it, in fairyland. So that means they're not going to accept it. They want to move and put this blame on Europe and Ukraine alone. Okay, after that, what the Russians are going to do with them is going to be horrific. The problem they run into, the manufacturing capacity to supply them arms and guns basically comes from America. Even Ukraine ammunition is shipped by a South Asian country to them for artillery and the rest. The Europeans don't have the ability to supply them with ammunition. I'm not going to name which country in South Asia is supplying that ammunition. But relying on a country, middle power, to provide ammunition to Ukraine says a lot. Americans don't have that capacity for guns and the rest to supply. So this is going to be very tough for Ukraine. And if America gets embroiled with Iran, as we are moving towards that, Iranians going, not agreeing to enrichment, not to do enrichment and allowing inspectors, I think they're going to move towards the next stage with Israel, where they're going to, as soon as they get enough interceptors and the rest, they're going to go for it. The second month, this won't be for 12 days. This will last weeks, maybe even months. Just like they've done that before. They did it to Yugoslavia, Bosnia Herzegovina, I think, jog some old memories. They've done it around the Iraq War. So I think they've done it in Afghanistan. And the only powers who can actually put a stop to it, which they're not going to intervene. And Iran is on its own this time. Most countries don't want to supply any high-tech weapons to them because there's no security. Their whole government and intelligence and army, air force, navy are totally infested by Israeli spies. So anything they hand over goes to Israel and to America. Did I ask a question?
Okay, so you also discussed about Chancellor Merz, a German chancellor, probably his stance of no peace at Ukraine's expenses. Does this affect future negotiations?
Yes. What he's saying to Ukraine is don't do a deal. Okay. And he's saying if you do the deal, it's capitulation. To surrender government. And I don't think the White House agrees with it. White House says you're a fairy tale, living in fairy tale. If you do this, you're going to, from jaws of victory, which is saying, agreeing with Russian terms, you're going to have defeat. And looks like Europe and Ukraine have a choice to make. Anyway,
Okay.
all yours.
You also discussed about and you shed the light on NATO and neighboring states like Romania. How will NATO and neighboring states react to Russians' expanding claims?
Say the last word again, last sentence. To the Russian?
React to Russians' expanding claims.
What can they do with the expanding claims? Russia is, I think, expanding claims come, and that is where the conquest comes. That's what they're going to take next. And they are small powers. What can they do? They can just see what happens. Remember, Germany has only 78,000 troops. Russians are coming in here with over 600,000 troops. इन्होंने क्या कर लेना है? Romania, Moldavia, they have less than 5,000 troops each. उन्होंने क्या कर लेना है? They can only watch. But I don't think Russians have any aims on them because they're not threatening Russia.
All right. So let's talk about India's government. How will they respond to the U.S. tariffs, and what measures could they take to mitigate the impact on Indian businesses and exports?
I think the only way you can reduce effect of tariffs is find another market. And if you can't find another market, then I think hits you in the belt. Abito Trump has not put tariffs on their remittances. 9 million Indians sitting there without any non-resident Indian, 9 million. जब उन पर tariff लगाएगा, then find out what happens. India already is going to be in big trouble with balance of payments. After that, it's going to be huge. And I think Pakistan has been through this cycle. Yeah, a long time ago, BCCI banks are huge, fantastic, global. Americans just took it down one day. So they have the capacity financially to take down any country. And unfortunately, our neighbor has what we call strategically punching above its weight. Militarily, they try to take on a country like Pakistan, punched above the weight, and their air force got grounded. So they are miscalculating. They don't have a good appreciation of their own strength. So I think consequences usually got pretty bad consequences. How they can mitigate? Praveen Sani, an analyst in India, already said, you need peace. We need a trilateral agreement with China, Pakistan, and India to have peace and move towards development. And what they mean is Chinese development, which is BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, which India doesn't know how to go to. So.
Okay, so that wraps up today's discussion, and thanks for sharing your, as usual, valuable insights on the current situations. And thanks to the listeners for staying with us. All yours.
Thank you, and Khuda Hafiz, and guys, we will be back soon. Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.